Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the solution to your major Sibelius problem. What? You don't know you even have a Sibelius problem? Well, you kind of do. Because Sibelius wrote lots and lots of music, especially lots of orchestral music, because everyone really likes his orchestral music best. That was his true métier, as opposed to like chamber music and piano doodads and other things. But he wrote some really short pieces that are very attractive but very hard to find. And that is why this Naxos recording, which I sort of overlooked shamefully, is such a handy thing to have, because it gets like some of the least familiar of his incidental and other short works all together on one disc. First, let's just see what's on here. There is Night Ride and Sunrise, that big major tone poem that no one particularly cares about, because the Night Ride is endless. It's chunk 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 chunk. It does that for about 8 or 9 minutes, and then the sunrise happens. And it's not a sunrise like Also sprach Zarathustra type sunrise, a big, glorious, phantasmagoria. Instead, it's a delicate, sensitive, misty nature poem. And the sun comes up gradually. Oh, it's so disappointing. Who are we kidding? I mean, it's very beautiful once you get to know it. But you cannot come to it with the wrong expectations. You have to take it on its own terms. It is what it is. And it's very Sibelian for what it is, but it takes a little getting used to. So here it's on here. It's very, very good. This is with Pietari Inkinen with the New Zealand Symphony, and it's really well done and really well recorded. After that, you get the suite from Belshazzar's Feast. What? You didn't know that he wrote a Belshazzar's Feast? Well, he did. And the suite has 4 charming movements, beginning with an Oriental procession. Oh, I am such a sucker for Oriental processions. I love the one that begins Nielsen's Aladdin suite. I love all of that faux Asian Orientalist stuff. I mean, it's cultural appropriation at its very best, and you can't get enough of it. And Sibelius is really a good one. It's only 2.5 minutes long, but it gets the job done. And here it is. I'm going to play it for you. Oh, I love this. And you play it for your friends and ask them who wrote it. They'll never get it. It's just terrific. Isn't that fun? It's just great. I think it's absolutely wonderful. You also get Pan and Echo, subtitled Dance Intermezzo number 3. Believe it or not, there is a number 1 and a number 2. Yes, there is. And so that's delightful. And then we have the 2 pieces for orchestra, opus 45. They consist of the Dryad, a little 5.5-minute long symphonic poem that I always get confused with Pan and Echo. I mean, all these nymphs and dryads and, mythological critters, they all sound the same. But it's a lovely work. It really is. I mean, the names sound the same. The names just somehow get all mushed up in my head, not the music. So you've got the Dryad, but the interesting thing is opus 45. That's number 1. And everyone's like, well, what comes after that? What's number 2? Well, there is a number 2, and that's the Dance Intermezzo. It's a Dance Intermezzo number 2. Or number 1. I don't know. I get them all confused. And it doesn't matter. It's just called Dance Intermezzo, opus 45, number 2. It's a lovely work. Sibelius made like 27 different versions of it. You can hear them all on Biz. In their complete Sibelius edition, there's like a bunch of different things, all with the same material. Why he spent so much time banging this piece that would be completely forgotten into shape, I have no idea. It's like why Handel wrote 57 versions of the same aria in the Messiah that no one pays attention to. But this is really pretty. And when you hear it, you realize it could have been a larger work. He could have developed it into something, because it really has that much character in the thematic material. And it's also like 2 minutes and 50 seconds here and 50 seconds here. So let's listen to it, shall we? That's simply called Dance Intermezzo, opus 45, number 2. Isn't that luscious? Isn't it just yummy? I think it's a great little piece. It's another wonderful work to play for your friends who think they know Sibelius and say, who wrote that? Gotcha. And then finally we get Kuolema, or Death, opus 44 and opus 62. It's a bunch of things. It's more incidental music. It contains the Valse Triste. Yes, the famous Valse Triste. But then there's the scene with cranes, the canzonetta, and the Valse Romantique. There's more to it than just the Valse Triste. This is very pretty, light music, kind of a little bit faded, I would say, today. I think it feels a little bit pale. And Sibelius, of course, spent his whole life trying to repeat the success of the Valse Triste because he sold the rights to his publisher. And so he lost out on a fortune, and he never repeated it, much as he might have tried. Maybe that's why he wrote 500 versions of the Dance Intermezzo number 2, Opus 45 number 2, because he kept trying to come up with something just as good. Oh, well. I mean, his loss was our gain because he kept writing these other things, and some of them are delightful, as you can hear for yourself. So this disc with Pietari Inkinen and the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra really sort of sets you up for some of the harder to find, but nonetheless interesting and mature and masterful chips off of the maestro's workbench. Really, really good little pieces that you probably don't know and almost never get to hear. It's worth grabbing. Absolutely worth grabbing. So keep on listening, folks. Thanks for joining me. Take care.